Hi, I'm Sarah Fisher, Chicago Integrative Movement Specialist. Thanks for joining me. This week, I'm continuing our discussion on female fitness, retraining the core post-surgery, pregnancy, and/or trauma. I want to share with you the 3 most common progressions that we use here in clinic. They are also the most common progressions that I used to retrain my core after my C-section and multiple dance injuries. And they're the 3 progressions that we'll be sharing this weekend when Janice and I teach the course Female Fitness, Restoring the Core and Discovering Its Effects on the Whole Body. Remember that when we go into these progressions, we want to maintain our ABCs, our alignment, breathing, and control. Remember that alignment is stacking the thorax or the rib cage over the pelvis, and maintaining our optimal 3-dimensional breathing, which includes breathing from behind the collarbone all the way down to the pelvic floor. So top to bottom, side to side, and front to back. Then third, we want to make sure we maintain our C for control. So maintaining your alignment and your breathing while going through these progressions. Another pattern that we're going to use this week to carry over those ABCs into an upright pattern is the supported squat. So remember last week we worked with the happy baby pattern. Now we start to tip that upright and this looks like the squat. So you're going to start with that alignment of long spine, breathing, and then you're going to place the hands on a door handle or a wall, and then you're going to take that nice inhale. Start the exhale, keeping the spine long and sits bones wide. You're going to sit and then start your inhale to come back up. We'll do 5 reps of that. Starting the exhale, keeping those cues of long spine, sits bones open. Start the inhale to come back up. Start the exhale, then sit back. Start the inhale to come up. We want to watch that we don't squeeze the hips at the top or arch the back as we sit down. So that's why we keep that long spine, sits bones open, so that we can hinge from those hips, rotating that TPC over the legs, as opposed to squatting and tucking, or lifting the sternum and then arching to sit. When the client's ready to progress, they can go into a loaded squat pattern. So you still want to carry through the same cues that you used at the supported squat. Long spine, rib cage over pelvis, maintaining those ABCs, your alignment, breathing, and control. The key here is to make sure that you maintain those before you even load up. So ideally, if you can set the weight down on a bench or a table in front of you, that way you can then think long spine, breathe, rib cage over pelvis, and then grab onto the weight, because once you're in that position, you're loaded and you're ready to go, okay, with the most optimal alignment. So you're just going to keep it by your chest. You're going to take a nice inhale, keep your cues as you exhale, and start to sit back. And then start the inhale to come up. Exhale, keeping that long spine, sits bones open. Inhale to come up. From the side, it should look the same. Long spine, rib cage over pelvis. Exhale to sit. Inhale to come up. Keeping my cues throughout the entire phase of the pattern. Another pattern that we can use to integrate those ABCs into a more functional and upright pattern will be the supported hip hinge. The purpose of this pattern is to train the body, train the system, the core, how to move through the hips without squeezing the abs, without squeezing the glutes, or without rounding through the back and taking that pressure into the low back. So to set up for that hip hinge, we're going to face the wall. We're going to go long spine, ribs over the pelvis with breathing, and then we're going to place the hands on the wall. You're going to go about hip width apart with the feet. You're going to start that inhale and exhale, keeping a long spine, sits bones open, and start to rotate that whole trunk over the legs. Start the inhale to come back upright, keeping the idea of long spine, sits bones open. Exhale, sits bones stay wide as you rotate the whole pelvis and trunk over the legs. Inhale to come back up. We'll do 3 more of these. Always maintaining the breathing and the cues throughout the entire exercise. You want to watch out that you don't end up tucking the pelvis. So if you go into that hip hinge, rounding the pelvis, that's a very common compensation. And then oftentimes when people start to come back up, they start to lift the spine or lift the back and then bring the hips separately. So we want to keep this all as one unit, okay? So again, a compensation will be to kind of round the back and move from the back to try to do this pattern. Another common thing that will happen is that people will end up extending or arching and trying to move through the spine in that way. But again, that creates that compression through the lumbar spine. So keep long spine and the breathing, sits bones open. Another progression that we can use is the weighted hip hinge. So going from the supported hip hinge and adding a load, you still want to carry through those same cues of alignment, breathing, and control. So again, ideally you want to be able to have your weight set to the side so that you can start set up without being loaded, and that way when you do load, you're set up in the most optimal alignment. You want to watch out for that posterior pelvic tilt, that rounding of the back, but then also that arching of the back. Okay, so we're going to go long spine, rib cage over pelvis, breathing, and then I'm going to grab my weights and load up. And then I want to go ahead and take that exhale and hinge from my hips, keeping that long spine, sits bones open, and I'm going to start my inhale to come back up. Exhale to pitch forward. Inhale to come back up. Again, watching out that when I come back up, I'm not arching, and I'm also not coming up right at the very top and squeezing my hips. So when I come up, I don't want to go and squeeze my glutes and thrust my hips forward, because again, that will put compression into the low back and also into the hips. Okay, so maintaining the alignment. You're breathing 3-dimensionally, long spine, sits bones open, and maintain that even when you come up to that long spine. Thanks for tuning in. To learn more about the courses that Janice and I developed for the fitness professional who works with women post-pregnancy, surgery, and/or trauma, go to www.iihfe.com. And if you have further questions, please reach out to helpdesk@fitnesseducationseminars.com all one word. Thanks again for joining. See you next time.